Have you ever tried to look for a way to split your signal to two TVs, including 4K? Well, maybe this will help. This is a Monoprice Blackbird 6x2 HDMI matrix. You see them on eBay and on Amazon for about $100 Canadian or so. So I had to try this out. I have an older receiver, or a cheaper receiver, that does not have a zone 2 output. I probably wouldn't need this if I had a better receiver, but I'm trying to keep costs down. So this here allows me to split everything that's plugged into my receiver. The line out of the receiver goes into a line here. I've got 6 line ins for HDMI inputs. And then from there I have 2 outputs, one going to the TV upstairs and one going to my theater downstairs. So what's great about that is that I can use my Logitech Harmony remote. I can switch between the 6 inputs on this receiver, and I could send it to this matrix, and the matrix will allow me to split it upstairs and downstairs. So in theory, I can share my Wii U, Switch, Xbox One S, my NVIDIA Shield, and the 360 and the PS3 between the 2 TVs in the house using this, just as long as your controllers can reach both locations. That was an issue with the older Xbox One. I had the first gen, and I couldn't go upstairs, and you're looking at about 25-foot distance between the floors, and the controller would fail to connect. So just a few weeks ago, people told me that the One S solves this problem. I confirmed that it does. I can go about 30 or 40 feet away from the S and no longer have connection issues, just as long as your controller batteries are charged. Okay, so back to this. This here allows 6 HDMI inputs, including 4K. It has an IR sensor, and you'll see there's only one sensor, but I've got 2 that are taped to the front of it, because I've got 2 Harmony hubs that are used. So you know what, this works. I just use half the sensor for one and half the sensor for the other, and I tape it, and it works. You'll have your on-off switch here, which you don't have to use. You just leave this thing on all the time. You've got your A's and B's. A is for one TV and B is for the other TV. You have 6 inputs to choose from. You do have EDID, with pushing that EDID button there. Sets it between 2-channel, 5.1 and 7.1. It does work. You have an audio return selection and just a power indicator. You see here an A and B button. If you push that, it switches between the inputs, and an EDID, an ARC, and a reset button if you want to reset everything to the factory settings. So right now I do have a 4K wire going upstairs. It is a Monoprice Cabernet active HDMI wire. It is at 35 feet, and I do manage to get a 4K signal. Now, mind you, I am not running a HDR. My TV does not support it. It's an older Sony 55-inch XPR810C model. So there's no HDR built into it. It is a 4K screen, and you know what? Be honest, at that size, 1080p, 4K, it looks pretty much identical. So I'm not going to nitpick too much about it. I wanted to see what it was all about, and honestly, I got a bigger bang for my buck going from standard definition to 1080p than I did going from 1080p to 4K. So I'll be real honest with you, I don't believe the hype. Maybe the HDRs and everything else that's coming down the pipeline may be worth it, but going from the standard 1080p to a entry-level 4K, maybe, yeah, I'd wait a little bit until it's a really good deal. Okay, so I'll be honest, this comes with the remote as well, basic remote that just has the same buttons here on the top. I'm sorry for my light here, and it works, and it works well. It's a little slow switching in between inputs, maybe looking at it between a 3 and a 5 second delay between once it switches and until you get a full signal on your screen. I did exhibit a little bit of flickering at the input change. It is not too bad. Honestly, for the $100, it is well worth it if you don't want to invest into a new 2-zone AVR, which can cost you $500 and up. This is a cheaper model of the Matrix. There is a better one that does the 4K, 60 hertz, HDR, and Division, and the Atmos, and everything else. But you're still looking at about $350 Canadian for it. If you're going to spend that kind of money in a Matrix, may as well just spend a little bit more and get yourself the AVR that does it all. So that's about it. If you have any questions, guys, please subscribe and feel free to ask them, and I will be glad to answer your questions. Bye.